Hey everyone, before we jump in, just a quick note. We actually recorded this episode a couple weeks ago, just 2 days before the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Because of obviously how big of a story that was, we decided to hold off on this conversation and focus on what was happening in the country instead. So what you're going to hear today is mostly about Florida ending its student vaccine mandate. To be honest with you, we were kind of worried this story might have already moved on, might have already felt old. But because of the times we live in, vaccines are still in the news. Just last week, a federal panel appointed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out with new recommendations that break from decades of U.S. precedent on childhood immunizations and COVID shots. So even though the headlines have moved on, the bigger questions about public health, politics, parental choice, and trust are still with us. Plus, we also talk about Disney World being too greedy and a viral moment at a Phillies game. I promise you, no other podcast has that kind of range. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
I'm super confident.
I'm not.
So we start. What do you mean you're not? Sorry, for those of you who are not paying attention, I said this is going to be a great episode. I'm super confident. And right before we started, Mike goes, I'm not so sure. With that being said, welcome to the Esau McCaulley podcast. I'm your host, Esau McCaulley. We're joined with producer Mike, who we're always happy to have every week.
I'm happy to be here every week.
And I'm liking the flannel energy that you. Sorry, for those of you who are not watching on YouTube, he has a nice flannel with the undershirt that matches one of the things.
It's fall, pumpkin. I had my first pumpkin spice latte on Friday. I'm feeling good.
You're feeling good. We also have Malcolm Foley of Baylor University here. It's good to have you back on the podcast, Mike. Mike, I called you Mike. Wow. Malcolm.
That's all right.
We look so similar. We look so similar.
It's great to have you on the podcast, Malcolm. Welcome back.
You saw all of his co-hosts look the same. That's I think, what it is.
I'm operating under distress. For those of you who can't tell from my voice, I'm a little sick.
Oh, Esau.
And so I was potentially not going to do the podcast today, but what did you text me to
I said, you got to channel your inner Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan in the 97 finals, was sick with the flu, put up one of the best performances.
Yes.
Now, so I think you can do that can you think of a LeBron?
A LeBron equivalent of the flu game. I was thinking about this. So I remember there's this one time, I don't know when this was, it was not the NBA Finals, but I think he got hit in the face or something, and they were interviewing him after the game, and they said, like, how he had a game-winning shot, and LeBron said, I was seeing triple, and I just shot at the hoop in the middle.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I love you, LeBron. I got support. Like, there's a whole thing on the internet that LeBron be capping sometimes. He's not always telling the truth. I'm not going to say he didn't see triple, but I'm saying never in my life have I seen triple.
That is like literally a Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes episode.
He said, I saw 3 rims and I shot at the one in the middle and I hit it. So if that's true, that's equivalent to the flu game, but I'm not sure I believe that.
I think let's channel your Jordan and not your LeBron.
Malcolm, do you believe that LeBron saw triple and shot in the middle?
No, I don't believe that.
Wow, it's rough. I might have to put baby LeBron down for the rest of the podcast.
There may have been a little. I'm not saying he didn't have. He may have had some other experience that may have been comparable, but I believe it. I believe
maybe not.
I'm gonna be a fan. I believe it. In case he's listening. In case he's a long time listener.
LeBron and Denzel. All of these long time listeners that we've got.
But I see that you have our book, and I see that you have some stuff up. Could you want to give an update?
Yeah, so you all responded so well. We've gotten dozens, maybe hundreds of new reviews and ratings and all sorts of fun stuff. Many of you filled out the little form to be entered into a chance to win a copy of Esau's brand new children's Bible,
God's Colorful Kingdom.
Yeah, is it out now?
It's out now. You can go and get it wherever books are sold.
And so if you were chosen, I emailed you this week, you got an email, and so if you didn't get an email from us,
you lost.
You got to go buy your own copy. But you should do it because it's so good.
Yeah, there we go.
But these reviews,
some of you won, most of you lost.
Most of you did lose. But really, didn't we all win because we helped promote this wonderful podcast and this wonderful book? And I mean, these reviews, these are so nice. There was one in there that said like, I came for Esau, but I stayed for Mike.
Oh,
but then they wrote, just kidding.
Oh, just kidding.
So that was a little hurtful.
This is what happened when you let Mike choose all the reviews. I figured it'd be one he was going to be mentioned in it. So they came for me, but they stayed.
No, but then he wrote he was just joking. So, but it took me a while. I thought this one was so good. It took me a while, but I've really warmed up to this podcast. To be honest, it took us a while to figure out what this podcast was. Esau McCaulley is fun and hip.
Oh, hip. There we go.
Which didn't fit with my more serious outlook, but he always brings it around. To insights on living for Jesus in this diverse and crazy world. This podcast is one of a kind.
Oh, one of a kind.
Well, Malcolm, you got some shout outs in here. And so this is, if anything, you all made us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah, I was about to quit. I'm not going to lie to you. I was sliding in other podcast DMs. What you doing, big head? You need another. You up? You up on the pod? I'm not gonna, I was just curiously Clayton would be recording, and I just kind of slide in and go.
What about Curiously Esau? I'm curious too.
Yeah, I'm curious too. The Holy Post. You got 3. Do you need a 4th host? Anyways, well, thank you all for encouraging us not to give up.
Yes, we appreciate it.
And actually, we were talking about LeBron. Our first story is kind of sports adjacent. But it's more like the internet is mad about something. I don't know if you were paying attention to this, but it's similar to the story that we did a few weeks ago where somebody was caught on camera. Well, what happens was there's a Philly baseball game, and there's a home run hit. And there is a woman who's running for the ball and the guy who's going for the ball. And this is just like, if you ever been to a baseball game, when the ball's hit in the stands, it's like, it's Lord of the Flies. It's like you just get in there and you do whatever you can. Yeah. So the guy gets the ball. I saw it wasn't like overly aggressive, but he beats the lady to the ball. And then he goes and he gives the ball to his son. Yeah. Which you come to find out later, I think it was his son's birthday.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's great. Like your son is at the game. You get to have like the chance of you hitting a home run.
Every kid's dream is to end with a home run ball.
And then he hugs the kid. It's like, it's a beautiful picture of him hugging the kid. And the next thing you know, the woman comes in and she's really upset and saying that you stole the ball. And the dad kind of jumps back, and rather than have a incident develop, he takes the ball from his kid and gives it to the woman, who then walks away. And the internet finds out about this, and the internet is not very happy.
No.
And the internet's enraged, and I'm not saying you should. Probably the worst advice anyone should ever give you is to go read the comments about something on the internet. but you saw like everyone saying we should find this woman and ruin her life. As a matter of fact, they misidentified the woman. Do you see that?
I've seen this.
Yeah. And the woman who was misidentified, and they tried to get her fired because she was a teacher or something. And the public school of the woman they misidentified had to come out and say, that's not her.
Right.
Obviously, you should not take items from kids. Like, obviously, that's like not a commendable activity. But I kind of noticed that the rage from the stolen baseball was almost equivalent to like the people who were caught cheating.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's at least weird, right? Shouldn't we have like levels of outrage? Now, of course, like the kid ends up getting like a free bat. He gets all of these things. Yeah. But I'm wondering, like, do we have as a society, or maybe the internet, does it have the ability to go, there are levels of evil and there are levels of like judgment, or does everybody who does something that is caught on tape deserve the same kind of scorn? Because I feel like cheating on your spouse and destroying 2 families is worse than taking a baseball. That might be a freezing cold take, but I thought that there was something about that that made me uncomfortable, that we were equally angry about these 3 topics. Is that unfair to say?
I think that we're a generally unregulated society.
We're just all emotionally unregulated.
I think about this. I mean, like our oldest daughter, she has just defeated sucking her thumb as a thing. I mean, it was something from when she was 4 months old until she was 5. Like,
man, I had a kid like that. We tried everything, and it just I don't know. Did something work, or did you just see this outgrew?
Yeah, I mean, we had a program, and just kind of over the course of 21 days, like she spent the last 21 days not doing it.
You put your daughter in a program.
Oh yeah.
They had an intervention with her ahead of time.
We gotta.
Okay, so go ahead.
But over the course of that process, I mean, walking with her through that kind of constant dysregulation, like that was but it also reminded my wife and I of how of just how difficult that kind of regulation is, because if she's dysregulated constantly, the temptation for us is like it's just to meet that energy. Yeah. And if you're constantly engaged in a platform where just everybody just offers their most unregulated thoughts.
So you're saying the whole of social media's intellect is emotionally unregulated?
A lot of it is.
Yeah. I mean, also, this has to be the 20th time that the internet puts on their detective hats to find a perpetrator to get it completely wrong.
Do it wrong.
Yeah. And it's like, wrong. Can everyone just like calm down a little bit?
So here's the question. This might be a genuine question. So historically, there have always been people who did like random acts of cruelty, right? Mm-hmm. And it was kind of socially like, most of the time in a baseball game, you'd have to be at the game. Maybe it makes it on ESPN, but you'd have to like be watching ESPN. I don't think it was as easy for the whole internet to know about a particular faux pas. This might be a weird question. What is the appropriate like response to this? Like what is a person who does something that is like unconscious, like pretty cruel, like the CEO or this woman? Like, what should happen to them? I don't know if that's a fireable offense. I don't know if you should be famous. Yeah. I don't know. To me, it feels like we don't have a good way of saying that was really, really bad and then just stopping it there.
It feels like two things. That one is just we should not take it as our personal responsibility to bring about judgment and a punishment for every person that deserves it. And two, like, and a little bit of humility of like, oh, I know I've done things that if it was recorded and went viral, like I would be embarrassed, ashamed. Like we have all done things that are not great, especially when we're not thinking at our worst times. But the punishment for that should not be worldwide.
That's what I mean. Like it feels like national.
That sounds like Jesus.
Yeah. And I guess if she comes out and goes, and I don't know this person, so I'm not speaking. Let's just say, for example, someone who goes to a baseball game and, takes in a lot of beverages that mess with reasoning. So maybe this person was like maybe not their best self in that moment. Yeah. Maybe they had 15 things going on in their lives, or maybe they're just a generally grumpy person. Whatever those things are, I just don't know what the proper response is other than that was kind of cruel. Yeah. And I think that the other thing, this is the last part, that people were mad at the dad because they said the dad should have like,
I was going to ask you guys, like, what would you two have done if you were the dad in that exact scenario? Because he caved instantly. Instantly.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought about this in a racial lens.
Yeah.
And I was like, as a black dude, if there's an argument between me and this woman and the security comes and they haven't seen the incident, they're not gonna take my side. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's like I would have given her the ball too. Like I am like always doing this like racial calculus to go, okay, if she starts crying and said he stole my baseball, and unless there's a replay, they're not just gonna believe that I got there first. And so for me, and it's just like, I don't know. It depends on my day. I probably would. I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have gave her the ball. And for my kids, I was like, bro, you want some ice cream instead? Well, I would have just let him get a jersey. I would have probably done that.
He said, like, I wanted to teach my son, like, there is importance to de-escalating a situation. Yeah. And it's like, it was a baseball, and it would be like he was well within his right to keep that baseball, and it was appropriate to say like, this is not that important. Fine, crazy person, take the ball.
Okay. So Malcolm, do you give the ball or do you not give the ball?
Oh, see, now I'm rethinking, because my initial response was, it's like, well, my child has it. Like, why would I back that up?
I don't know if I could take it out of his glove. That was the thing.
He took it out of the glove.
I think he did what was right. I'm pretty sure I would not have given the ball to her.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could have done that. I might have to go to jail. Like, it's my kids too. I was like,
But they'd have the baseball. They'd be like, "God, Dad's in
home,
jail."
bro.
But
'Cause, like,
I mean, I'm not trying to go to jail.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go to jail. What I'm
So-
saying, there are these two things that you have to teach your kids. One is how to de-escalate.
Yeah.
And every now and then, the importance of standing on principle. But I just can't get myself to thinking that this baseball was a principle. I don't, and I just don't think that like I'm not mad at this woman anymore. I was annoyed when I saw the video. I was annoyed for 15 seconds, and then I moved on. I don't think that I've ever been mad enough on the internet to research somebody and then present my research to the internet for our mutual rage. And I do think that I think that in the absence of like any kind of social norms, we are once again searching for these moments of social catharsis. We can find a consensus. And the interesting thing about this is the consensus of who we're allowed to hate. And even the language of calling her a Karen is to say she's the type of person that we can hate. And I will never think of that as kind of a healthy way of operating as a Christian. And for me, it really was, and this will sound like I'm doing full Jesus juke and then we'll move on. It really was kind of sad, right? That if like this thing is so important to this person, they're willing to like, even if you didn't get the ball first. So I am in a place now when I see people emotionally dysregulated like that, there's more sympathy than anything else.
Did you know diversity is woven into the tapestry of Scripture? From Genesis to Revelation, God reveals his love and compassion for all people. Written by Esau McCaulley, God's Colorful Kingdom Storybook Bible celebrates God's story of grace and redemption by revealing his intentional design for a multi-ethnic, multicultural church that cares for the vulnerable. With vivid illustrations, sweeping scenes, and fresh perspectives, this one-of-a-kind storybook Bible invites children to see the beauty of God's diverse family in powerful, inspiring ways. Featuring stories from both the Old and New Testaments, God's Colorful Kingdom Storybook Bible is perfect for families of all backgrounds eager to explore God's heart for diversity, justice, and compassion. God's Colorful Kingdom Storybook Bible is available online or at your favorite local bookstore. Order your copy today.
Zones field got him doing football numbers, only average grown. He was acting grown.
But the next topic we had actually is going to be Mike's Corner, because you had something that you wanted to.
I do.
And I think their rumblings might be too much to say, but I think the people say that I should let you talk more on the podcast. And that Mike's Corner comes and goes. And so we're going to make sure that, here's your moment.
Wow.
And I'm going to let you finish the whole corner, and then I'm going to comment.
The problem with that, Esau, I feel like, have you ever like gone to a movie that was like really hyped up? You're like, this is going to be so good. And then you watched it and you're like, oh, actually, now that I've experienced it, it's not that great.
This people should know this, because people always say like, let Mike do more. And what they don't understand in the actual pre-show meetings, I'm like, what do I normally say?
Mike, you should talk more.
Yeah, and so they're thinking like I'm the one keeping you down, and I'm like I'm passing you the ball, you passing it back.
I'm good in small doses.
Okay.
Here's my favorite part about another peek behind the curtain for Mike's Corner. Sometimes I find the article. Sometimes Esau sends me the article.
Yeah, I give him the best stories for Mike's Corner.
What I love about this, you send me an article about the vaccines in Florida.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
What was the website that you sent me? Like, you would think it'd be CNN, NPR, New York Times. It was BET.
Yeah, I feel like you need to be introduced to Black culture. So I think you would hit the vaccine article, and then you would just kind of, look around a little bit and see some other stuff. So you're right. I would sometimes send him a national story from the BET website just to let you know what's going on in the culture.
That's great. I'm glad. It's helpful. Okay. Vaccines. Malcolm and Esau, would you say they are good or bad?
I'm pro-vaccine. That might be another freezing cold take. Are you pro-vaccine?
I'm a big fan.
Okay, they're
big fan.
And you know who else
my kids up with vaccines,
is a big fan? The World Health Organization, who claims that the vaccines have saved 154 million lives in the past half century. Seems good.
154 million seems like a lot of people.
Do you know who thinks that doesn't matter?
Oh, who is that?
The Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo, who has decided to make Florida the very first state in the country to end all vaccine mandates for school children.
Yeah. Can I just say the language of mandate is also kind of inflammatory? it's not like it's like, you know, it's like a forced march. Like when I say mandate, I feel like it's something that's going to be like, oh, the taxes are going to go up to 50%. But you're right. The vaccine requirement, I think, feels like, you know what I mean? Like mandate.
What a restriction on human life to require vaccines.
Like, life-saving medicine doesn't sound. And
How dare
mandate
you?
does. I'm sorry.
Yeah. In fact, he has compared vaccine mandates to slavery.
Yeah, he did do that. I saw that.
Which is wild. It's crazy work.
Sorry, I want to let you. I keep saying no.
Go.
Okay. I'm going to let you get to your question because you tossed the slavery thing in there, and that was going to be part 2. But what is your question related to vaccines besides are they good?
Okay. So if we were trying to approach this as reasonable as possible, we could say like, in general, I don't want the government to tell me what decisions I can and cannot make. Or we want to limit the amount of stuff that the government controls over our personal lives.
Yeah.
And so especially when it comes to like being forced to take a medication. And so like, could you, I don't know if I can do this because I think it's so ridiculous.
Okay. So this what I want to say. The question is, he's couching this as in parental rights.
Yes.
And I do think there is a deeply Christian idea. And I actually do not care about the fact that people might get annoyed at this. Mm-hmm. I think that the COVID, this is like, once again, a freezing cold take. I think the underlying logic that Christians use to encourage the taking of the COVID-19 vaccine, the underlying logic was actually sound. That even if the science ended up being not completely perfect around the spreading of the disease, but the idea is that by taking this disease, by taking this vaccine, or by isolating, you're exercising neighborly love because your illness or your spreading of this illness can impact the most vulnerable. And so even if you have a strong immune system and all of these other things, the idea that I will consider the other when I'm making a decision, even that inconveniences me, is a deeply Christian idea. And at the heart of vaccine, the whole vaccine thing, and forgive me, why it's a pediatrician, it's herd immunity. The idea that if enough people take the vaccine, everyone is protected. And obviously you can have a certain amount of people who opt out. I don't think that it should be like the religious exemption. I'm completely fine with that. If for religious reasons you are going to opt out, I can understand that. We're living in a multicultural society, different religious values. But the underlying idea that we will take this vaccine as a way of protecting the most vulnerable of us, and the removal of the vaccine having a disproportionate impact on the people who don't have the same access to medical care as others, to me is the reason why I think what they're doing in Florida is problematic. Did I leave something out there, Malcolm?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's that. I think we're also dealing with what is broadly an erosion of an understanding of the public good.
Yes.
And specifically people in, I mean, at least for me, my understanding of what the government is supposed to be invested in, one of the reasons why we pay taxes to it, is an investment in particularly the public good. And so to see this constant language that the most important language for the government to use is that of individual, essentially a libertarian freedom. Like that's not, but one of the things that you're supposed to be thinking about is the good of the public. And so that like, but that's another, I mean, it's trending just more, especially in the last number of months. But
I guess what I'm saying is like, and listen, I'm not saying that every Christian has to take vaccines. I don't want to like have that kind of argument. What I'm saying is the idea that our first concern is only for ourselves and that there's not the consideration of the neighbor in our moral decision making is where I think that the argument around it feels to me less than Christian. And the thing that makes this like less serious, I'm going to give you like 2 examples that I think are relatively low stakes. The first one is this thing called the FDA, which actually regulates everything that goes into your body. Literally, you can't buy food unless the FDA says this food is safe. And so the FDA decides the kinds of things, it's the Food and Drug Administration, right? So like that's how it works. So okay, they say you have to have an expiration date. You have to do all of these things. Now, you could say in the name of bodily autonomy, as long as the meat people tell you all the things they did to the meat, any meat should be sellable, right? We say we don't do that. because there's a public interest in the regulation of the food that goes out
Right.
into our society. So the idea that the government might say, there is a disease that kills people that we can solve by herd immunity. It is in the public interest to do that. To me, seems to be not a government overreach, not a denial of parental rights. It seems to me one of the roles of government. Now, does that mean they get it right every time? But they don't.
Right.
But for me, the standard is not perfection.
Right.
And so if you want to go back, because a lot of this stuff has its peak from the COVID-19 thing.
Yeah.
If you go back and look and say, were there times things they were done with COVID-19 that weren't the best? Yes, that's true, of course. But you don't have to get a 100% score on pandemic responses, because pandemics, by the very nature of them, are things that are out of the ordinary. And so if you went too far in the attempt to help people, if I actually believe that was the intent, then I can tend to be more gracious and say, yes, we can learn some things from that. But I don't think the thing that we learn from that is that herd immunity is bad.
Right.
And maybe I'm wrong in tying those two things together, but I think they're in the same cultural world. Is that unfair, Mike's Corner?
No, I don't think so. I think you can point to so many things that the government regulates and puts restrictions on that we don't bat an eye at.
Movies,
Seatbelts,
the internet.
There's just so much that the government says you can and cannot do, and we accept because we do need to live in a society with rules and laws and regulations.
Now, I do believe now, and this is the thing. I think that to grant something on the other side, and then we can say something about this slavery language.
Yeah, I was about to. Yeah.
I do think it is fine for parents to be invested in the lives of their children, and the government is not infallible. Because there's I had kids in public schools, or I have friends who had kids in public schools, and some of the stuff that they would say, oh, my kid has to read this, and my kid has to be exposed to this. And it's okay for a parent to say, as a parent, I feel like I can object to certain things my kids are exposed to, and I can assert my parental rights in the raising of my children. I think that's fine. But I don't think that every single regulation rises to the level of a violation of an essential parental right. Yeah. And I don't think this gets here. Malcolm.
Yeah.
And I want to be as nice to this brother as possible.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
But what is the moral responsibility that we have in invoking slavery as an analogy in public discourse? Maybe I'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, it's also wild that because the quote that's pulled in a number of these articles is when he says, "Who am I to tell you what your child should put in your should put in your body?" Yeah. It's really what your child should put in their body.
We'll let them live.
I don't have that right. Your body is a gift. Your body is a gift from God. It seems to be less of a parental right thing than a bodily autonomy thing. Yeah. Where it's just like your child should, the assumption is whatever they want, they should be able to, which he doesn't actually believe. I don't think anybody actually believes that. But to the slavery thing, I just think a lot of people don't really understand what slavery in this country
actually was.
Yeah. Because then you wouldn't be comparing stuff to it. You wouldn't.
I think the capture, transportation, and public auctioning of often beaten and abused bodies that were then often worked to death, forced into sexual exploitation, and for hundreds of years, and then the creation of a legalized underclass in the aftermath of that. To me,
centuries of that.
Yes, I feel like taking a shot is not the same. I feel like there's limited, basically, you need to put that analogy there, man. And when you use that, and maybe I'll put it this way: when you have a context where, on the one hand, in this same political world where this stuff is happening, it's like slavery wasn't that bad. It wasn't that big of a deal. Get over it. But the worst thing that you can possibly imagine is slavery. And so you evoke it when you want to make something feel repugnant. Well, if it is so emotionally repugnant that it's a thing that you reach to, maybe it then had long-term implications in the lives of people, especially given the fact that, like we said, slavery doesn't end, it slides into Jim Crow. And so, yes, I just think that whole thing was problematic. But I'm gonna give you the last word, and then we'll move on to Disneyland.
The other element of it is that we are currently, I think, in a government that says that the government is the enemy.
Yeah.
Which is a weird, that's a weird situation.
It's a weird phenomenon. And go ahead.
No. Just that. Then the assumption is if the government is ever telling you to do something, that is comparable to slavery. That's where that language pops up.
This even goes back to our old story, or the Phillies one. Everyone thinks they are an expert. I'm an expert at finding the person who stole the ball from the kid. I'm an expert on determining what vaccines I need and I don't need. And there's just so much mistrust in everything, while complete trust in ourselves, and it's not a good recipe.
One of the things, there's an article that didn't we bring everybody behind the story. There's one article that I didn't actually share. It's by Ross Douthat. It's called The Imperial Presidency. And he's actually talking about the ways in which this current presidency has interrupted all of these norms. Yeah. And he's wondering whether or not they will persist after this person, or this is a unique kind of confluence of events. Because if we are in a place where we can, like, if you can win simply by evoking cynicism and the distrust for everybody but me, and because I'm the only person who you can trust, therefore I can break the rules because I'm breaking the rules for your benefit, then is that the only way that we win elections? And do you have both Democrats and Republicans who are running on distrust, which then just leads to kind of repeat of authoritarianism? My hope is that we are in the middle of a fever dream, that at a certain point we're going to wake up and realize that something like democracy and truth are still important. Now, speaking of things that are important, you see, how did that transition work?
That was so good. That
was good.
You're doing your flu game. I'm seeing Jordan right next to me.
Speaking of that, there were three options. I just went for the one in the middle, like LeBron. So there was this story about going to Disney World, and about this. What's the name of the article there for the New York Times?
There you go.
Disney and the decline of America's middle class.
Yes, the premise of the article is that Disney used to be affordable to everyone, but with the rise of kind of the internet and technology and algorithms, the abilities for corporations to tailor experiences, that they found out that it's more financially profitable to tailor their experiences to the upper, like 20% of the of financially in the United States, and some even
probably higher than that,
even higher than that. And so basically, there's different experiences of Disney depending on how much money you have. And to have the really good experience of Disney, you got to be paid. So let me ask you this question: have any of y'all ever been to Disney?
Yep,
so,
just was a few months ago.
Okay, then. So which Disney experience did you get, Malcolm? Should I get your business in the street? or did you identify? Did you identify with this?
My situation.
Maybe I'll put it this way. Did you identify with this article?
I saw how you could have a less than ideal experience.
Okay. Look at this guy. Baylor's paying him well. I need to.
No, it's not. No. It's not. I went with family.
Okay, you were family.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to know somebody with something.
Yeah, you just gotta,
my sister. So I should put a business in the street. But my sister may or may not be married to a doctor, and she's a doctor. And so when you do that, when you go on a trip with the double doctors, man,
hey, come on now.
There was a long time in my family where the kids would, like, cause she gives the best birthday present, not birthday and Christmas presents. And she was literally having better Christmas presents than we were. And the kids were like, "Oh, that's Aunt TT's present." They knew. Or when she would call and ask what they wanted, they were up to ask. I was like, well, hold on, you didn't ask me for that. It's like, you broke, Daddy. TT can make it happen.
There you go.
So I know what you're talking about. You gotta have the right people. But anyways, like, do you feel like something like Disney that was once this American quintessential middle class experience is now been priced out for most people? Do you feel like, can you go to Disney and Disney it up?
I think it's been priced out for a lot of people. Or it was even like they compared two families in this article.
Okay.
One that was barely kind of scraping by, saved for years to be able to go, but they went in July when it was crazy hot because it's cheaper in July, and then they couldn't afford the fast passes, so they were waiting hours in line. At the end of one day at Disney, they did like 8 rides, and that was about it. And then they interviewed an upper class family who went in December when the weather is moderate and in the 70s, and they paid for everything they could. And at the end of the day, they went on 22 different rides. Okay. And so I just think like Disney has for so long been such a big part of our culture as like, this is the pinnacle of a vacation. If you're an American family, that families scrape to save and save and save. And then they get there and they're like, well, this kind of stinks, but I've spent so much money, I have to like this.
When my kid, I had one of my children used to love Star Wars. And this actually ends up closing because it doesn't make a lot of money. But they did this thing of a Star Wars hotel where you can go through and have the whole lightsaber experience and all of this stuff. And my son was like, can I go to this? And I don't remember what the ticket price was.
I think it was like $2,500.
Yeah, I think I was going to say it was $2,500. And he's like, can we go for a weekend? I'm like, that's $7,500. You know, like, son, unless Luke. Like, and I remember, like, and like, he's fine. Like,
did he ask his aunt after you said no?
Don't ask Aunt TT. But I remember thinking, like, I would love to give this to my son. Yeah. But that immediately was clearly not for me.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's something to be said about how what's happening with Disney is a picture of the two Americas and how you could, I guess, just decrease the profit margins a little bit. Right. And make a reasonable Disney for everyone. Why? Okay, I'm sorry.
That's the other thing though. Like you go there when you go on these rides. I'm just saying, like, this is just the general ride experience. You go on these rides, even just the wait, like the spaces that you're walking through for the wait. My main thought was, this is what happens when you just have billions of dollars to do stuff. Yeah. Like every one of the Star Wars rides and stuff, even the line that you're walking through, the things that you're surrounded by, you're just like, this is just money.
Yeah, money everywhere. Yeah.
This is just money. And so then especially as income inequality and all this kind of stuff increases, if their goal is to create kind of really the most magical experience they possibly can, it requires a lot of money to do. Yeah. And if they're asking the question of, well, like, where is that money? Yeah. Well, that money is no longer, that money is really, I mean, it's fewer and fewer middle-class folks that money is less located in that sector than it was 34 years ago.
But Malcolm, for decades, the middle class of family could afford a trip to Disney, and it was not a marginally different experience than the upper class. I think, like a lot of people would point to, but since the pandemic, Disney has taken away a lot of the free offerings that they made available to everyone and put it behind a price tag. And it's not like Disney is hurting for money right now. I think it shows like a greater trend of these companies. We see it with the rise of inflation, and everyone's feeling that on their bottom, on their wallets. And yet, I'm also seeing reports that companies are making record profits.
Yes,
they're charging more than they need to. Yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is this is a revelation of greed. So the question is, how much is enough? So obviously, as a business, you want to make profits. You want to, like, if you don't make money, then you can't hire people. But the idea that I want to increase the profit margin more and more and more. And if you want to say, okay, I know one of the things that makes Disney not ideal, that's waiting in line. We can monetize not waiting in line to increase our revenue. We can monetize forcing people who are already coming to Disney. They will get further advantages if they stay in a Disney-owned hotel. So we can extend out into their living situation. They can always monetize parking. You park further away. And so at a certain point, you are like just sucking blood out of a turnip. And there is this idea that what is enough for people? Right. And what do the poor or the people who struggle, and this is not even the poor, this is the working class. Yeah. Do working class kids get a chance to have a magical experience? And I'll say this, and this is just like, once again, you're gonna think I'm doing the Jesus juke, but I would just say this, I will say this here. This is also the thing that I think about. This is also true in churches. I was having a conversation with a mentor of mine, and maybe I've talked about this a lot, in church planting. And it was, I'll give him a shout out. His Mark DeMoss. He does Mosaic. And I was sitting with him, and he was talking to me about, like, how do you fund church planting? And he was not saying this. He was saying, like, Esau, one of the things we learned when we started pursuing a multi-ethnic church is that for one middle class, like 40 to 45-year-old majority culture family, like that tithing unit, it takes about 7 either single or multicultural people to give as much as that one family does. Part of it because of historical inequalities, part of it because of stage of life. And so he said we started to realize that if we're going to do ministry stuff, we had to grow almost 4 or 5 times as big to be able to fund stuff that we could do with like 100 intact families. And so if you say, okay, well, the people who can afford to give a ton of money are like middle class, married couples with kids between the ages of like 10 and 18 because they're at the peak of their earning power.
Go after them.
Then it's easier to see how all of the ministry in the church is geared towards families. Now, I am pro-family. I am 45 years old. I have 4 kids in that range. I'm actually the target demographic. What does it actually mean to say, if you are doing that, then what is that communicating to the people who are not in that demographic? And also because those people tend to give money, then their politics begin to define what the church can and can't say. And that segment of the population tends to be politically, like in a certain place. And so you can say, okay, why does the church, do these same things? Same thing musically, right? What happens on the radio? Positive. And so like you have this whole thing where the economic engine of the church is a certain group of people who then determine all of the church's culture. And I know that this probably, I'm gonna get yelled at for this. I remember when I was in seminary and they talked about how to church plant. And they said you should think of you should create a composite of a person. Yeah. It's like middle class Bobby and Susan or whatever.
This is what Saddleback did.
And so, but like, who,
explicitly what they did.
Explicitly.
Who was that person?
Yep.
Right, and I don't know Saddleback, so I'm not gonna I'm saying who is the person who is our imaginary composite? Yep. Is the imaginary person that we're imagining the single mom with 3 kids who's struggling to make ends meet, and you're asking the question, what does the gospel mean to her? Because what Disney is saying to you is the people who we care about are these particular people who have the finances to be able to take care of it. So that's me ranting to say that I think that one of the difficulties of even being a church plant is to say, we can grow, we can develop, we can obviously have programs for children, we can have programs for families, but also can we make space for singles and other people? Malcolm, I'm going to give you a moment to talk about Disney.
Ooh, okay. It's just that at the end of that piece, there's a quote from Miss Cressel, and she says, "All magic has a price."
Yeah.
Oh man,
which is just like
that hurt.
Well, this is as somebody who she wants her family to do this, but it's difficult to afford and stuff. She's like, well, all magic has a price, so I guess this is what we got to do. And it's just it's so poignant in how we think about this kind of stuff.
But our church to have a price, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
See, so this is what I was going to talk about the church thing, because we just we planted. We're church planters. We're church planters together.
Yeah, we're doing this.
Because we planted our church 6 years ago. But I was actually just talking to my co-pastor about whether we actually ever thought really seriously about growing. Like whether we had because it just and I know I didn't, and he even in the beginning thought about it less than I think a lot of church planners did. But the Lord was gracious. It's this thing about, at least when we think about the church, like really thinking in terms of we plant and water. It's God who gives the increase. That is different from the way that people are taught strategically, like think strategically about growth and all all this kind of stuff. Like it takes a different spirit to actively fight against that when the risks are so high of you not operating in that way. I'm thankful that the Lord did what he did has done in our church, but yeah, the prevailing narrative is if you want to grow, this is the way to do it. It's the homogeneous unit principle. Comes out of that if you want it to grow, then have this culture that you're not only adhering to but seeking people in in that particular demographic.
But we're even taught to learn. And once again, I'm not anti-excellence. I'm not anti-intentional thought. But I remember that we were taught to learn from Disney and Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And that like the commercial, like all of those things, the greeters, all of those things, we were taught to do things that are like that. We had someone who like came to our church, and they was like, I went to ask, oh, you interested in singing? He said, oh, I only sang in a small church in the back. Well, you can come and try out. And they had this immediate idea that like, I have to be the best version of everything.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that everybody gets a solo.
Yeah.
It's not that. Well, I'm saying there ought to be a built-in inefficiency in the church where we're not just treating people like a factory who we're running through to get to a certain experience, but we're giving them space to grow and develop as people.
I think that's right. Like you can strive for excellence. You can be strategic in your church plant.
Yeah.
And you have to acknowledge what are the shortcomings, who are the people we will overlook in our strategy, and then let's build in some inefficiencies to make sure we reach those people. Now, I do just want to...
I want to say, and Disney has actually decided that we don't care about these people.
Now,
basically, like if you broke,
and
watch it on TV.
And even though Disney,
figure it out.
Even though Disney doesn't care about my family, my family still cares about Disney, and my three cute, adorable little boys would like to go to Disney next summer. So I'm just saying, if there's anyone in our audience that has a hookup, some connections. That's Mike at holypost.com. Esau, I'm just,
Wow.
I put it out there. The Lord, I just see what the Lord does.
I don't know what Scottie Pippen did in the flu game. When he passed in the ball.
This feels like a great.
But I don't know if he passed in the ball after we just went in on capitalism and the evils of. He was like, but if you want to give me the hookup. We will revisit it. He's like those influencers who, if you just give them the free stuff, you get a good review. But anyways, thank you. We have survived the Holy Post
we did it.
Episode, and I'm going to go home and take a nap. And my mother-in-law is here. She can give me some orange juice. I'm going to take a nap. So thank y'all for listening to the Holy Post podcast. We'll see you all next week. Please like and subscribe to this video if you want to see me, Mike, and the rest of the team continue to think through Christianity and popular culture.